Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode. Now, throughout your photography journey, you will hear a lot of photography jargons that might be quite confusing at times. Most of the time, it's really for photographers to talk among each other, or just for you to understand, just some standards for you to understand. You might not put a lot of them into practice, but it's also very good that you learn some of them. So today we're going to be talking about probably the most important one in photography, which is called focal length. Now, focal length is not that complicated. In theory, it sort of is, but in practice, it's not so much. So what is focal length? In theory, focal length is the distance between the convergence of light rays and your camera sensor. So we all know, if you studied physics or if you paid attention in physics, so how a lens works is that light rays go in and your lens elements will actually converge the lens rays into one specific area. So it might be here, it might be here, depending on the lens. And so focal length is the distance between your camera sensor and the convergence of those light rays. Don't worry, you can actually forget about that because that's not really important in practice. It's just good to know in theory, and you have some bragging rights and some extra knowledge in front of your photographer friends. In layman's terms, what focal length is basically numbers on your lens and how zoomed in or how wide it is. So we know that focal length is denominated in millimeters: 16 millimeters, 35 millimeters, 50 millimeters, so on and so forth. So focal length on your lens does two things. Number one, it affects your angle of view, meaning how much you can see in the scene. And number two is the magnification, meaning how magnified your subject is in the frame. So I'm going to show you a bunch of pictures right now that are going to be flashing across the screen. This range from the widest I have, which is 16, all the way to 200 millimeters. So as you can see from the widest focal length at 60 millimeters, you can see more of the construction site, and the crane, which is going to be our subject, is kind of small in the frame. But as we go down all the way to 200, suddenly your angle of view becomes narrower. You can see less of the environment, and suddenly the crane is a lot bigger in the frame. So this is what focal length does to your image. It decreases or increases the field of view, and it also increases the magnification or decreases the magnification of your subject. So this is actually very confusing. It's just too much theory. In practice, you won't have to think about this. But in practice, what you do need to know is how to read its numbers and its corresponding focal length. Now, how do you read the numbers? The smaller the number, the wider your field of view. So basically, the smaller your number, the wider your lens. Bigger your number, the narrower your field of view. Quick example, if I shoot in 16 millimeters, you see that it's very wide. But if I were to shoot at 200 millimeters, which is on this lens, you will see that my field of view is suddenly so narrow and I can see less of the environment around her. So one thing that you have to know is, how do we determine wide angle, normal focal lengths, and telephoto focal lengths? So wide angles are generally anything below 35 millimeters. So anything from 35 millimeters all the way to 8 millimeters, these are considered wide angle lenses. And technically 16 and below, they'll be considered ultra wide angles, but those are more technical and I also don't know how you define them. And the normal focal lengths are usually focal lengths that give your subject normal distortion as you see. So this could be about 50 millimeters, 40 to 50 millimeters, maybe 85, and anything above 85 will be considered telephoto lenses. And you have all the way to like 400s, 800s. So that's how you denominate, or how do you categorize different kinds of focal lengths into wide, normal, and telephoto. So just final remarks. In the end, all these things, they're good to know and they're good to understand. But really, when you're shooting out there, you're not going to be constantly thinking, oh, okay, I got to shoot at 16 millimeters. Oh, I got to shoot at this. After more practice, it's just going to come second nature to you. And also, I want to add that if you go online and you read or you listen to a lot of photographers, they'll tell you that there are specific lenses or specific focal lengths for certain kinds of pictures. For example, portraits are shot at 50 millimeters or 85 millimeters. These are just standards that other photographers has placed, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's what you should be shooting. For example, I shoot a lot of my portraits on wide angle lenses because I like that. And if you don't like that, or if you like that kind of style, do it. There is no rule in photography that says you have to do it. Just make sure that you understand all these things so that you can break the rules and create whatever image that you want. So thank you so much for watching. If you have any more questions, let me know, and I'll see you in the next... Actually, we have a message after this, so you might want to stay. I just want to thank Canon Malaysia for loaning me the camera and the couple of lenses. And speaking of Canon Malaysia, every single year Canon has a photo walk competition called the Canon Photo Marathon. And this year's one is going to be on the 20th of October. I can't tell you exactly where it's going to be, but I'm going to be going, and I would love for you all to come if you're interested, because what we can do is we can actually meet up, we can go around, take some pictures, have some fun, meet some new people, because in the end, you know, all these kind of photo marathons, for me, it's not so much about getting the grand prize, it's about meeting new people, it's about having fun, taking pictures, and that's what's more important for me. So if you guys are interested, do let me know. I'll be there, we can all meet up. If you want more information, just drop me a message and I'll let you know. And I really hope to see some of you there.